Hey everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad, Gustafson, and I share two books that we love and we think you should read. When, Brad?
Right now. Now.
Now, right this minute. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Jenn, school is like in the process of starting, and the energy in the building is electric, and people are working really, really hard, but it's all for an amazing cause. So it's just all good and exciting, and lots more book conversations. It's not just me talking to myself alone in the hallways. So
yay, that's exciting. Well, what books have you been reading this week?
yeah, okay. So before my picture book foray, the last couple of weeks, I had read, I'm going back to the archive from a couple of weeks ago. I had read a novel I just loved, but I just needed to wait for the right time to share it. So before I share what the book is, got to share a quick side story that's related.
Sure.
So growing up, my family went to this campground often, and there was this little spring, bubbling water, brook spring.
Yeah.
And I would always go there and catch frogs. So cool. So like, I don't want to say every kid's dream, but I loved it, right?
Sure.
It was magical. So the reason I share that is in this book, like something like that basically existed. So the book is called One Small Hop by Madelyn Rosenberg. But here's the difference, and this is just wild. There is this oasis spring with like a bullfrog, as it were. But here's the drastic difference. The world has become so polluted in this book that seeing a frog is like a rare find. You just don't see frog.
Interesting.
Don't even exist. So the things we may take for granted, they don't happen. So when Ahab and his friends stumble upon this bullfrog, it's a really, really, really big deal because there aren't any more bullfrogs.
Sure.
So, and by the way, there's this police force, I think it's called the Environmental Police Force or something. Anyway, but they're known for being corrupt. You're supposed to call them and not touch the animal. You're supposed to have them, but they are known for just selling these things on the black market or not caring for them enough to keep the animals alive. So there was kind of a moral dilemma. Anyway, the story takes off when Ahab, he and his friends brainstormed a couple options, and they arrived upon the most logical decision, which wasn't to call, and I'm saying that a little facetiously, it wasn't to turn the frog in to the authorities. It was to search the black market for another bullfrog somewhere in the world, try to meet up with a stranger and breed the frogs, to try to save the world.
Right.
Which is just a wild story. And this is, now I'm getting to the point.
It sounds so much fun.
Yeah, I don't want to give away stuff, so I got to kind of cut myself off a teeny bit. But what I will say is this black market, hidden frog market they stumble upon is just wild. It's just so cool and interesting, and it makes you want to, like, it's across a border. There's a little bit of a clue, but they didn't just drive down the street. They literally had to cross an international border to connect with this other black market frog dealer, and so cool. So for all of those reasons, but the main one, the element I probably loved most about this is the world building in this book.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just my camping experience that allowed it to be so special, but Madelyn Rosenberg did such a great job. It felt like I was in the story because of the world she built. But for all of those reasons and more, One Small Hop is a book you need to read right now.
So I have a quick question, because someone asked me recently about books that would be perfect for fourth grade read alouds. And that book, having not read it, just sounds like it would be a fun read aloud. I think that'd be a fun experience. But I wondered about fourth grade, or what grade do you think it's appropriate for?
Oh, yeah. Well, depending on the adult support and stuff, and your students better than Jenn and I know your students, but you, honestly, like a third grader could probably read this book. So it could be a really cool community building thing, discussion thing with fourth graders, I think, for sure. It just, the content of it seems like something fourth graders would just love and talk about and laugh about, and all the things. So thanks
Great,
for asking
thank
about
you.
that.
That's awesome. I love books that I'm always thinking about books that might serve well as a read aloud because that's such a fun,
Yeah.
like you
One
said, community building experience.
one quick element to the read aloud is one of the things, like, you know, a lot of times characters have their idiosyncrasies. One of Ahab's idiosyncrasies is to frame things as multiple choice test questions, kind of, sort of.
Fun.
I think that would be a fun element in a read aloud, because at the cadence
Yeah.
of it and the repetition, the teacher could stop
Yeah.
often and be like, all right, pop quiz, and then give the choices that Ahab
How fun.
lists. So
That's
yeah.
fine. I love that. Yay. Well, that's
All right. So
exciting.
what do you got, Jen?
Okay, so the book that I read this week, I've actually kind of like you, I read it a while back, but I've been thinking about it and trying to think about what might be the best time to share it. And also, it's just it's a book that's been sitting with me for a while, because if I were still a high school librarian or teacher, I could just imagine this book flying off the shelves. Like I could just see this book being so popular for that audience. And so I'm excited to share it. I don't know if the cover in and of itself is sort of what attracted me to it to begin with. It's called Ace of Spades, and it's by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. And it is let's see if I can explain this book, okay? Because like a lot of mysteries and thrillers, the plot's complex, but also so fun and like it hooks you in, right? But it's about these two kids, Devin and Chiamaka, who both go to this very prestigious preparatory school. They only have, or at least they think, they only have one thing in common, and that is that the two of them represent the only kids of color in this entire school. Okay. That's the only thing, though, that they have in common. Apart from that, they couldn't be more different. Devin really doesn't like school very much, but he goes because even though his mom, even though he got a scholarship to go there, his mom still has to work 3 jobs to keep them afloat and allow him to go to this really prestigious school. He doesn't feel like he belongs there, so he kind of hides out in the music department. He really likes his music teacher, and his music teacher lets him spend a lot of free time there and focus on his music. Devin wants to get into Juilliard more than anything in the world, and so his entire high school career has just been focused on trying to get a scholarship to Juilliard. Okay. Chiamaka, on the other hand, is like, I'm trying to, if you've ever like seen Gossip Girl or Mean Girls, she is like the queen of the school. And not only is she think she's the queen, but everyone else does too, because she rules with an iron fist. Popularity is everything to Chiamaka, as is having the highest grade point average, being the valedictorian, being the class president, or as they call it at the school, the prefect, the class prefect, etc. Because she wants to go to medical school and be a doctor, etc. She has her entire life planned out. And she believes that the only way she's going to achieve it is by being the best at everything. And she doesn't care who she has to run over to do it, right? So these two kids couldn't possibly be more different. But then on the first day of school, a couple of weird things happen. The first is that at the beginning of school assembly, they name the prefix for that year in the senior class. No shocker, Chiamaka is up there. She's head prefect. But then they call Devin too, and Devin can't understand why he would be chosen as a prefect. It's totally bizarre. At that same assembly, they're doing like a presentation for the whole student body, and suddenly this Ace of Spades playing card appears on the screen for like a half second and then disappears. And everybody just thinks it's a mistake. It's no big deal. But then right after the assembly, the entire student body gets an anonymous text from someone who only identifies themselves as aces. And what becomes clear is that aces has an agenda to bring down and reveal the secrets of two people, both Chiamaka and Devin. And suddenly these two kids have to work together to figure out who Aces is, and also save themselves from being expelled, because as we learn, the two of them have some pretty naughty skeletons in their closets. So everyone is a suspect. Like, just from the beginning, you are in the shoes of either Chiamaka or Devin, because suddenly school, everyone that they're looking at could be Aces. Who is Aces? How do they know these things about the two of them? Why would they have something against those two students in particular, since they seem to have absolutely nothing in common? You know, the Venn diagrams of their lives couldn't possibly be spread further apart. It is a thriller. It's super fast paced, and it sort of takes everything that there is about high school and then wraps it up in this like crazy I know what you did last summer kind of mystery. So I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think high school kids would devour this, and I just want to show the cover again. It's called Ace of Spades, and it's a debut, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else this author writes.
Love it, love it, love it. That cover is stunning. Elements of that reminded me of Varian Johnson, some of his now I forget if it's Nick Green, the main character, but anyway, the playing cards and stuff like that. So I'm reading Varian stuff and loving it, and when I grow up to the high school level, then I can go to that one, right?
But that's great. It kind of like, that reminds me of Terry Lissane and her book ladder concept, because those are the kinds of books that you might put on a ladder as kids get older. If they loved this as a kid, then they can lead up to this and that kind of thing. I love it.
I'm glad to be low on that ladder, Jen.
I'm glad to be anywhere on the ladder.
Yeah, there you go.
On the ladder with you, so we can pull each other up a rung or two when we need it. I love it.
I love it. Always a pleasure. Here's a funny 10-second story. So I needed to look up something from our spreadsheet of all the books that we've talked about the last several years. And a lot of times I have this poor organizational style where I search my emails to try to find links. And I had this epiphany. I'm like, duh, Brad, every time you talk to Jen, you say the website where people can go to look for the books. So Jen, you'd be so proud of me. I stopped searching my email and I typed in bit.ly/read_this_now. And I found the book I needed to find.
Yes, victory. Now, if only I can get you to memorize the link to our Zoom meeting, then we will be in great shape.
Every week it's an issue. Every week.
I love it. Thank you, my friend. Happy reading, everyone.
See ya.